Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of One Punch Man Season 1, Episode 9, Unrelenting Justice. So the scene opens up with a fight between the Deep Sea King and Genos, and Genos actually does pretty well against the Deep Sea King, and actually is one of the few characters in the series that can actually give him a fair fight. And he actually does give the Deep Sea King quite a fair fight, despite losing an arm and half of his face. And then one of two things happen. One, this little girl proceeds to cheer on Genos as he's fighting, and two, the Deep Sea King lobs a ball of acid at the little girl, and so Genos rushes in front of the little girl, saving her life, but losing most of his upper torso in the process, and is easily defeated, and can't get up because he now has no arms. Meanwhile, Moomin Rider, who has been en route this whole time, finally shows up, throws his bike at the monster, and proceeds to throw a punch at the monster. And this fails because the monster is significantly stronger than Moomin Rider is. Moomin Rider's just a dude on a bike. He doesn't have any powers. And you can see in this fight that the scene is significantly less kinetic than his fight with Genos was, and just kind of flops Moomin Rider up and down like a rag doll before accidentally throwing him over his shoulder. But Moomin Rider gets back up and tries to tackle the monster, which just serves to piss it off, and the monster just grabs him, and this time he actually physically hits him and sends him flying, with Moomin Rider struggling to get up. And then Moomin Rider makes a speech about how he knows he's worthless, but that he'll never stop trying, because so long as he continues to try, he can prove to himself that he's strong. And that for him, it's not about winning or losing, it's about just being the best hero he can be, which is a pretty powerful message for this. Because let's be real for a second. Moomin Rider, he has no powers. He's stuck in Class C because he knows he's not good enough for Class B. He rides a bicycle, and that's it. He has no powers, only a bicycle for equipment, and can barely fight. So yeah, he's definitely outmatched here. And then this little boy starts cheering for Moomin Rider, and the rest of the crowd gets into it, and for a moment you think that Moomin Rider can actually punch the big bad monster and defeat it. And this is an illusion, of course, and the illusion shatters when the Deep Sea King sends Moomin Rider flying with one punch, until Saitama, who was sent in by the Heroes Association to judge whether he is or is not a fraud, shows up, catches Moomin Rider as he's about to hit the ground, and after checking on Genos, proceeds to basically he nonchalantly rubs off the fact that the Deep Sea King is there. It doesn't really acknowledge him as a thing, and in this scene you get the sense that the Moomin Rider is as outclassed by the monster as the monster is by Saitama, and that's a brilliant side of this. That's a brilliant way to do this. And after catching Moomin Rider, Saitama challenges the Deep Sea King to a fight. The Deep Sea King boasts about how he's the supreme leader of the earth because everything comes from the sea, and because he's from the sea himself and evolved into a humanoid, then that he is the strongest. But Saitama is just kind of not paying attention and asks him to hurry it up. So the Deep Sea King throws a punch, and in a single frame, Saitama punches out the monster's guts. Meanwhile, while the entire crowd doubts that he can actually beat the monster because he's Class C and took a single punch from the monster, despite the fact that the monster has downed several heroes and Saitama is still standing. They think it's all an illusion, and then break into cheers as soon as Saitama beats the monster. And then the scene is kind of cut off here for a minute because it cuts off early to bring in the whole sense of satisfaction and all that stuff, because at this point, up till this point, people have wanted to cheer to Saitama because they can't cheer for himself, and they wanted to see the townsfolk cheer for him for saving the day. And this is kind of a little bit undermined by what happens next. So it's the next day. Saitama and Genos have shown up at their apartment where they live, and a drone from the Heroes Association drops off a bunch of letters. Genos gets a bunch of admiration letters, one of which is from the little girl he saved, and Saitama gets mostly threats. So yeah, he gets mostly threats, and then it cuts back to the scene and it reveals what happened after Saitama punched the monster. So Saitama punched the monster, everybody's excited, everybody's cheering, huzzah, the day is saved. And then this one guy, this ugly little guy with a big mouth starts going on, making a speech about how the monster couldn't have been that tough if a Class C hero beat it, and how, since the Heroes Association is funded from their pockets, that they should provide better, stronger heroes to actually defend them. Because, let's be honest, there are a lot of heroes that are actually good at combat, but against a monster, they're not. And he's got a bit of a point here, but what he says actually does diminish the worth of the heroes' sacrifices throughout the past episode, and essentially gets people to start doubting that the Heroes Association and the heroes in general are just as good as they say they are, and that ranks don't really mean anything because they're all weak. And then Saitama, in probably one of the most boldest, most noblest things I have ever seen in an anime, throws all of the praise that he's received in the past 5 minutes, throws it out the window, and boasts that he only beat the monster because he showed up late, and that the other heroes softened it up for him, and that he showed up to actually beat the monster, and to look after the other heroes, because if they don't, he can't take their credit. And we all know that Saitama is BSing the entire audience and everybody watching on in this scene, but they don't know that. Everybody thinks he's a fraud because he showed up out of nowhere and was basically one of the strongest guys ever, jumped all the ranks really fast, and he basically takes all this criticism and runs with it. And that's amazing. That's probably the most amazing scene ever. And with this moment, the faith in the Heroes Association is restored, and Saitama is promoted to Class C Rank 1 and is sent in for a meeting about his promotion, about whether he wants to become Class B or not, and he takes it because he is strong enough to hold his own at Class B, and he moves up. And all of this is told to Amai Mask, who is part of the board to determine whether heroes are good enough to join another rank or not, and he states that, and he tells them that it shouldn't be up to him who's made Class B, because only Class A or above should actually be counted for him, because they're the ones that are most reflected by society, because they're the most powerful. Because let's be honest, Class B, kind of a bit of some knuckleheads in there. I mean, there are some good heroes, but for the most part, there aren't a lot. And Class A and Class S are mainly the big bulk of heroes. But there are some decent heroes in Class B, but not many. I've said a couple of them, but we probably will see some more in season 2, because there are quite a few that are good. And then there are some that ruin the reputation of others and bring the whole system down. But anyway, what I'm saying is that after this, he also points out that that Class A and Class S most rank the Heroes Association, and that if an inadequate hero is put in Class S or Class A and do poorly, it brings his reputation down, so he doesn't want that, which is why which is probably why he stays Class A. I could imagine. I know why, but I mean, I know why because I've seen all these, but I'm assuming that's part of the reason why he does stay Class A, so that he can keep people who are inadequate from becoming becoming high-ranking heroes. And Puri Puri Prisoner is also distraught because he wakes up in the hospital, and after scaring Max and Stinger, sees the newspaper they were reading about how he was a failure and is just upset and disappointed in himself that he couldn't have done better. And then after all of this, Saitama, on his way out of all his psychological analysis and all that for his ranking up ceremony, you could call it, passes by a random little dive shop, like a little dive, like, you know, like it's a little, it's like a little small diner that's like a little bit of a hole in the wall place. Nobody expects much of it, but it's actually a really good shop to get some food. He walks in where he's greeted by Moomin Rider, who offers to buy him food for Saitama's promotion. And at this moment, it's revealed that Saitama and Moomin Rider actually bonded over the fact that they had to do the weekly quotas every week. And that's kind of a thing. And that's a thing. So, but they do eventually bond over it. And Saitama does respect Moomin Rider for being able to handle all the quotas every week. Which is and that's kind of sweet. So, and they do become best friends. And they do become friends after this. So, they're besties now. But yeah, that's where the episode ends for the most part, but there's also a little thing tying into the next couple of episodes where Madame Shi Wu Baba, the seer for the Heroes Association, who isn't actually introduced until next episode, so I think I'll wait on her. I think I'll wait on showing a picture of her here, but she is introduced as a seer for the Heroes Association, and she has a vision about how the Earth is doomed, which is kind of ominous, and that detail is explained in further detail. That little prophecy there is explained in further detail later down the road for the 3-part season finale, because we're there already. But okay, now I want to do my little review of this past 2 episodes, because I like the Deep Seeking as a character. I don't like him as a villain. As a villain, he seems very arrogant and feels like nobody can beat him, which inevitably becomes his downfall when he's eventually beaten by Saitama and is almost beaten by Genos and Sonic. So that kind of was his downfall, but let's keep in mind, this guy defeated 10 heroes over the course of like an hour in real time and in universe time. Defeats like 10 people. He defeats like 10 people in like the course of like an hour, and is eventually brought down by Saitama, and he also helps bridge a lot of legacies. He has a legacy going forward because he determines a bunch of mindsets for different heroes, like Puri Puri Prisoner, who we'll see later, and as I said, Allback Man and a couple of and 2 other heroes wind up retiring. So, because of what happened. So it's but it also shows a little bit of Moomin Rider's character as well. How he knows he's kind of worthless and that nobody expects much from Class C, and he knows that better than anyone because he tries the hardest out of all of them because he's rank 1, and he continues to maintain his position as rank 1 for the entire series. Because he knows he's not good enough for Class B. He knows he'll never be a better hero than what he is. But he doesn't stop trying. And I also like that he and Saitama strike up as a little bit of a bond. And that doesn't come up much in the manga, except for one little part where Moomin Rider is put in the hospital because of another character who we'll see in like, I don't know, next week. We'll see a bit of him next week, but he doesn't exactly become a main character until the second half of the manga, which I'm assuming that season 2 will be based on. I'm just assuming. I have no idea when season 2 comes out, I know it comes out, it's supposed to come out soon-ish. I just don't know when. So keep in mind, I will review the second half of season 2 whenever it comes out. But for right now, there's nothing. So, but yeah, and I also did not care for the little fish lips, little ugly guy. But I guess that was the point, because he was kind of voicing the whole, oh, the Hero Association is so weak and lame, all the heroes should be better, better. Blech. Okay, yeah, I mean, I didn't like him, but he was a very effective plot device. So that was kind of the point of his whole character, is that he was a one-off character who voiced his disapproval of the Hero Association, voiced how the Heroes Association was worthless, and he continued to voice his decision on how his opinion on how the Heroes Association was worthless, even when some guys threatened to beat him up for talking smack. For basically this guy was talking shit, and everybody was upset with him, even Saitama, to the point where Saitama decides, you know what, I'm gonna shut this down right now, and then just sacrifices all of his reputation just to get this guy to shut the hell up. And I love that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on these past 2 episodes. But yeah, if you have seen this episode of One Punch Man, what did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below or over on my Discord server, link in the description as with all my videos. And until then, and until next time, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, hit that like and that subscribe button. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!